Gentlemen, welcome into the session.
You got it. Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. Everybody, Rick Nichols, the head of our door department, and the guy who dials Tiger's clothes in.
Bro, you need
And,
time, man.
of course, Tiger wants.
Look at this thing. Would you like me to finish or?
Did we interrupt something?
No, there's the tweet right there.
No, we were just talking about, you know, how I, as a craftsman, and the other very talented people that we have at the oven, and some of the new technology that, you know, that we're using today, and how we are able to measure in a more modern way the things that we know that you like and appreciate about products like this, and even how those tools allow us to utilize the things that you've led us to learn about product, and how to make it better, how to make it real, and how to make it manufacturable, where we can, when we can do things like we did last night and introduce something like that to the entire world. So, and there are, you know, some very important things with a product like this, how important it is that every gram, we've known that for a long time, of how every gram being in the right place counts, but that technology is kind of a long-lasting insurance of that.
So, Tiger, can you explain your relationship with this man and just what you guys do together, what you set out to do together?
Basically, Mike and I, he knows what I like to see in the playing position, and I describe to him what I like to feel through the dirt, and it's a pretty symbiotic relationship in that way. And the physics and the craftsmanship, I leave up to him, and the feels and the sensations and the ball flight and the way it feels in my hands and the backswing and the downswing and through swing, I can tell him where something's off and it doesn't feel right. I mean, this goes back. I remember talking to Jack about this back in his heyday when he was playing really well, and he would have 20 irons of each number. So 20 pitching wedges, 29 irons, 28 irons, blah, blah, blah. And he'd go through each one, hit every one, and find one that worked, and he'd match his set through that testing process. There were no numbers, no iron bar at the time. Couldn't tell if it was perfect or not. You had to go through all those clubs. What Mike was saying about the 1 gram here, 1 gram there, we feel that as a player. We can feel when it's off, or it's, you know, the toe's a little bit too long, toe's too high. I just don't like the way it feels through the dirt. It's getting out of the dirt too fast, or staying in the dirt too long. You know, these are feels that we can now measure, and then incorporate into new technologies like we have with our vapors.
So, I just want to tell a quick story, and then I'm going to ask Rick to maybe expand on it. But we had an interesting thing that happened. Last year we were testing a driver with Tiger, and Tiger looked at it and said the toe's off. The toe's just not right. So we brought it back to the oven, and sure enough, the toe was off. And the CAD guys, our engineering director, called me, Nate, and said, sure enough, it's off. And we had to go back into the CAD file to find that. It was off by less than a millimeter, about 3/4 of a millimeter. It's something that was undetectable, and we got some guys with pretty darn good eyes in the building, but we had to go back to the science to look for it. So the perception and the feel and the sound and the things that Tiger can see are unmatched. And Rick, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you've seen out there and how really that makes us better, because it's that level of detail that's making our product, I think, where it is today.
Oh yeah, his attention to detail is second to none. That makes us better. And I remember one time in Atlanta, we had 2 5-woods. They came out of the same CAD, and they were off by 0.003. One was. He said that one's wider. It's out of the same mold. I mean, 0.003. That's like a coat of paint. But it was off. I took the digital calipers, and sure enough, it was. You know, there's a science and there's an art to making golf clubs, and we can take our TrackMans and our robots and and dial in the science pretty well. But when it comes to the art, we're relying on him. And you know, we feel like we've got the best master model maker on, you know, in the business working for us in Mike Taylor, and then certainly the best iron player to ever play the game. So put those two together, we're going to produce a pretty good product.
So Mike, Dave, maybe when we first tungsten loaded Tiger's irons, I mean,
Right.
frankly, it wasn't a science at that point. It's turned into a science, I think, now, but it was something that was felt. You can talk about the process and how you guys got to that point.
Try to run through a little, brief history of how we've developed and fabricated products for Tiger. We started with, we had an existing iron model that we tested with Tiger, and learned a lot from that about, a player that has the power and the speed of their hands, how the balance of that blade itself, how important it is in order to bring the golf club into the square position at a certain speed, if you want to call it that. Am I correct? So that wasn't going to work for Tiger. It was too fast. So we had a plan that we executed to build some additional models that were obviously more toe weighted in order to correct some of that. So that led us to great things. That led us to getting in that zone where we could fine tune the shapes, where we could fine tune the sole geometry and that performance. We start machining these sets. They're gorgeous. These thumbs up to testing. It was some of the most awesome test sessions I've ever witnessed in my career. I had worked with tungsten before. It's something that I really appreciate as a club designer. We're into this probably 2005, 2006 in there, Rick, where I've been making these awesome machine sets, and we start talking about, hey, this is awesome. Let's do what Nike does. Let's bring this great product to everybody. So we're going to tool this. We're going to tool your iron up. So we tooled it up. We started making some of these sets. Things rocking along there pretty good. And I believe the comment was that Mike, they perform great. They're incredibly like what I've been playing from a function standpoint, but there's they feel just a tick different. Is that that's kind of the detail that I remember.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, awesome. And I've been wanting to try this, but this is a great, timing's everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. And from some of the experiences I had before and looking at, the golf clubs that he had used and liked, so we decided to strategically place some tungsten in these parts. And the immediate feedback was, as it had been previously, it was verified once again, Mike, these are so solid. And I'm like, so we did that. And then when some of the folks that I'm working with now learned what we'd been doing and why, they started thinking about, what that was doing and how important it was, and that's a lot of what drove us to these designs that we're working with Vapor right now.
And so now we have a new modern muscle, Tiger. You are obviously in the process of testing. It's not going in the bag till it's better. And I think what I've heard you say about those clubs is that ball seems to stick on the face a bit longer. It seems to feel a bit heavier.
Yeah, it's a heavier
Describe
hit.
what that is.
Yeah, it's the same swing weight, but the hit feels heavier. Now you go down the range and you listen to the guys hit balls, and there's a sound difference of somebody who's really flushing it that day, and some guys flush it every day, but there's only a handful of guys that do. It's a totally different sound. And when I hit these, it had that type of flushness to it. And the thing that really shocked me about it is yeah, I had the sound, I had the feel, it was going through the ground just where I wanted to, but I was shocked when I looked up in the window and to see that the ball was holding its line better than the crosswind. That really did shock me, because I was used to seeing the ball just have a little bit of drift with that particular wind, and it wasn't doing it. It was actually getting through the wind a little bit better, like a little bit faster. But it was going the same number, but it was just getting there better. Didn't really understand why I was doing it. I just kept hitting balls because it was fun. Then unfortunately, I had this whole back surgery thing, and that was put on the hold. But I'll get back at it.
Can you talk, I think people are always interested in the process that you guys work through, beyond irons, just to get through equipment and to put it in the bag. Can you just talk about what that process is, and then how you know it's ready?
Well, the process for me is, it starts from Mike and engineers and Rick out on the tour. Is that, we start with basically almost like a clay model, what we kind of want to do, and this is years out, and what do we want this next one to look like, and then I like certain shapes. Let's say we're talking about drivers. I like a pear-shaped driver. I grew up in that generation that played persimmon. That's what I like to see, is a certain pear-shaped driver, and a lot of my successes, my years I really played well, I had a pear-shaped driver, and the years I've gone away from that is the years I've struggled a little bit. And so we've gone to that type of look, and I'm driving better. So other guys may want something different. I've never been one that really enjoyed the big 460s. Like I've told these guys that I feel wind drag. When I come down, I feel drag, and can you make it a little bit smaller so I don't feel the wind drag? And that's one of the reasons why my head's a little smaller. And I don't have a problem hitting them out of the middle of the face. That's not going to be the problem. I just don't want to have anything slow me down.
One thing I've always found interesting is your ability to articulate what's going on with the club and what you need, what you're looking for, but also your interest level in what the innovations that you've inspired are going to do for the average golfer. You always ask that question, and why is that so fascinating to you?
Well, it's how, look at how Nike started with Phil Knight. It starts with the athlete. Talk to the athlete, get his or her input, create the product that's going to help them win, dominate, and be the best in the world, and distribute it to the masses. And that's what we do. And golf is no different. We're out here, we're pretty good at what we do, and we can articulate certain feels, certain things and we all have we have preferences. Some guys need a bigger head, so they're going to use not the blades, but maybe something like a Pro Combo. Some guys want the speed and the vapor speeds and the long irons, help get the ball up in the air or hit them a little bit further. We have different conditions, but we all have this need to have something that looks good in the playing position first. If it doesn't look good in the playing position, we're not going to hit it. And then once it looks good, now does it feel good and does it perform the way that I want it to perform? Well, I was joking with Rory last night. His irons are so upright to me that I'm standing there and my hand on my leg to get into position that, dude, you're like 4 foot tall. And, how do you stand up to these things? So where the banter's going back and forth. But what I'm trying to say is that everyone's different in how they play, but we're all trying to be better. And that's from the pros to the weekend warrior. We're always trying to get a little bit better. That one shot that brings us back. Jimmy Fallon was on there with us last night, and he hit the most beautiful 5-wood he's ever hit in his life. And that's all he talked about in the car. That's all he talked about all night long was that one shot. It's going to bring him back, and he's going to talk about that forever. But that's where we are as professionals, the weekend warriors, and everyone who's involved in the game of golf.
By the way, thank you for saving Rory's driver. What were the chances he was going to snap that?
Dude.
That was sweet.
It was bad, wasn't it? Yeah. There was no one had a tee. I told him before that, okay, this driver, just aim way left and hit as hard as you can. It's not going to get in the air, okay? It's just going to just dive bomb to the right. He said, okay. Then we had no tee. Okay, oh boy. Well, here's 3-wood. just, again, still aim way left. You're not able to flex this shaft at all. That's not happening. And then he hit it and kind of wormed it out there. Then Roy sent a 5-iron. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone's on the same playing field.
Yeah.
So I gave him a 5, and Roy hit a 5. Iron wood, so it's still a 5. 5's a 5. So we had a good time with that, and he had a shot of his life, and with Roy's club, and that's all he's talking about.
That's great. I appreciate that. I want to open it up to you guys, if you have any questions for anybody up here.
Tiger, what sense of pride do you take in being a critical eye for Rick and for Mike?
Well, I think just as a player, I know what I want. I know what I like in the playing position. And as I've gone on and have become a little more experienced in our dialogue, I know what I need to describe to them in feels and how it is through the dirt, how the ball is flying, the way it feels in my swing. Is the weight, sometimes the weight can be in the wrong spot. I can actually feel it. We've put rat glue in some of my drivers to move around CGs. I could feel it's off. These are all little things that we've had to do over the years, but it's also communication, and it's free flowing. I enjoy working with these guys and grinding out there in the tour van, or Mikey here grinding me a whole new set of wedges. And I like this one. No, this one. No, this is crap. But it's not go this route. I want more of this. And boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, I've got a wedge that I can use in different type of sand conditions, more versatile. I was struggling there for like a year out of the bunker.
Yeah,
I put this in at Memorial, wasn't it?
it was. Did a pretty good shot there too.
I did a sweet one, didn't it? And win the tournament.
Yep.
So it makes a difference, and be able to have that type of dialogue with these guys and free flowing anytime. Call them up. I have ideas. I remember the groove idea. Remember that one?
Oh yeah.
The groove idea. That was a good one. Huh?
That was.
Yeah.
It was not a good idea though. I don't know if you can share it, but it was
Right. And we always push the limits. We were pushing the limits here.
And we pushed it a little
Too far.
It was an idea.
Rick,
very innovative.
do you guys ever disagree? In other words, you've built so many clubs, and do you ever think you should try this shaft, or you should try this loft setting, and
Yeah.
have a little bit of knockdown drag out?
Yeah, well, we actually had a debate. I mean, he used to use a 43.5-inch steel driver. Did pretty good with it. I think he's, he won about 6 majors and, 8 tries or whatever it was. So I said to him, we've got these 3 woods now that he can hit almost as far as that steel shafted 43.5-inch driver. Why don't we?
You going to the 02 one? You going to that shaft first, or you want to go to the 45-inch?
45.
Oh, okay. Well, tell them the 02 one.
When?
I went lighter.
Oh yes.
It was still 43.5. But I
That's
went
right.
lighter.
It's right. He was using 130 gram dynamic gold, and then in 2002, he went to about 117, 116 gram lighter weight version. Still same bend profile, just a little bit lighter. Saw had some pretty good success with it. Won
the first 2
the
majors.
Masters and the U.S. Open with it right in a row. So, so I was feeling pretty good about myself. I said, I can talk him into even a lighter shaft now. And so,
Good luck.
it took a while. It actually took 3 years. And in 2005, we had some, actually in 2003 we showed it to him, but he didn't change until 2005. We had some adjustable technology that we were working on where you could change the shaft. So we just took the same head and put a 45-inch graphite shaft in it, tested the ball speed, and did the same thing with a 43.5-inch steel shaft that he was currently using. It was 6 mile-an-hour ball speed immediately. So nothing changed except the length of the shaft, and so hence he went to longer lighter. And I think you and John Daly were at 316, 315 driving average that year. It was back in 2003 or 4. So, yeah, and then he won.
We had one other knockdown drag out, but the other one was the 2-iron.
Yeah.
And the 5-wood, I was very reluctant to switch into a 5-wood. I figured I started my teens with a 1-iron, my 20s with a 2-iron. You know, you get it, right?
He said he was going to
40s, 50s, 60s, and I'm trying to get to 11-wood like my 80s, you know? Okay, so.
Not in a 5-wood till I'm 50,
Exactly.
I think was the quote.
Yeah, so. I was very reluctant. And we put it, we tested it at actually the tour championship on the range at Eastlake. And I'm hitting this 2-iron, he's roasting this thing up that hill on the range. And they said, what shot you want? You want high drop? High drop. Hit it right there. Want to hit a high cut? High cut. Want to hit it low? I'll hit it low. Whatever you want me to, I was just hitting this, you know, just chirping. And he gave me the 5-wood.